Senator Higdon, Senator Hornback, Senator Howe,
Here.
Senator McDaniel, Senator Neal, Senator Nemus, Senator Thayer, Senator Thomas, Chairman Schickel.
Present. I'm calling this meeting of the Senate Standing Committee on Licensing and Occupation to order. As a reminder to members, please turn off your microphones when you are speaking and be sure to mute them when you are finished. If members are attending by Zoom and have a question, please use the chat function. The staff will notify the chair. If you encounter any issues, please let staff know so I can assist you. We have a full agenda today. We do have a quorum. Representative Pratt, welcome. It's great to see you. Introduce yourselves and proceed with your testimony. I want to point out to the committee we have heard this in during the interim at least twice. So just after a few words, we're going to go ahead and take a motion.
Thank you, Chairman Schickel. Thank you, members of the committee of the Licensed LO and Senate. I'm Phil Pratt, State Representative, 62nd District. My guest is
J.D. Cheney, Kentucky League of Cities.
House Bill 179 amends the alcohol regulatory license legislation passed in 2019. Senate Bill 29 to clarify implementation dates and to add that fee be collected by counties if a county contains a city that authorized to impose the fee. Basically, this came about because in Scott County, my city can charge the fee, my county can't charge a fee. It's basically a fairness thing. My mayor really wants this bill. My county really likes this bill because they can see them moving out to the county. These are restricted fees. I'll be glad to take any questions at this point in time.
Representative Pratt, thank you for your advocacy on this. I also want to thank you for your patience with me, letting it being heard during the interim.
Yes, sir.
I do appreciate that. So we did put it off a year. I want to recognize Senator Thayer for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am proud to make a motion for my constituents' bill that House Bill 179 be reported favorably. Motion same shall pass.
We have a motion by Senator Thayer, a second by Senator Adams. We have a question. The floor recognizes Senator McDaniel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I do thank you for the interim and forgive the fact that this has just slipped my mind. Representative Pratt, in the bill, does this allow the fees to be raised retroactively to where there would be some kind of an additional collection, or is it just because those votes occurred at that period of time referenced in the bill?
I'll let JD take this.
Senator, there's no retroactive provision. What happened with Senate Bill 29 in the 2019 session was that there was, before that amendment, any county that contained a former third or fourth class city could impose a regulatory fee. The Senate Bill 29 language said that you had to have couldn't contain a county over, or a city could not be contained in a county over 20,000 in population. So that knocked off Scott County, Hardin County, and a few of those counties that otherwise had the authorization to impose the tax from being able to do so. And when Scott County went wet, it really raised the issue that the county that would have had the authority had lost it because of it. And then the other provision of the bill is related to those few cities and counties that fall in that date deadline with the change where it was intended to allow smaller cities and counties to collect the tax. There's a 2-year contemporaneous requirement for the enactment of it, and they were not able to meet that contemporaneous requirement, so this gives them a small window to be able to collect the tax.
Right.
But it's not a retroactive tax, and there's no retroactive collection.
As they always are, it's very simple. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Senator Higdon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'm just, this only pertains to those who have gone wet or had a local option election in the past how many years?
For them, it would do the window between July 15th, 2014 and 2018.
Okay. What about those cities and counties prior to that? It's almost like we're discriminatory against allowing a city or a county that has, been selling alcohol for a longer period of time from doing this.
The 2-year requirement to enact it, the contemporaneous requirement with the vote to go wet or moist, only applied effective with the 2014 legislation. So any wet or moist county or city prior to 2014 is not prohibited from enacting the regulatory fee.
They are not
They are
prohibited.
not prohibited.
Okay, thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Is there anyone wishes to speak against this bill online or remotely or in the audience? Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Senator Adams, Senator Buford, Senator Higdon, Senator Hornback, Senator Howell,
Aye.
Senator McDaniel,
Aye.
Senator Neal, Senator Nemus,
Aye.
Senator Thayer,
Aye.
Senator Thomas, Chairman Schickel.
Aye.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8.
House Bill 179 is passed with favorable expression that same should pass by a vote of 8 yeses and 1 no. Representative, congratulations, and thank you again for your patience.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, members of the committee.
The next item on the agenda will be House Bill 415. Chairman Koenig is here, and he has, I believe, several people here to testify. Brian Alvey, it's always good to see you. There's been a lot of work put in on this bill, and I'm going to let you get right to it, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. House Bill 415 is the cleanup bill from last year's House Bill 415, which allowed for direct shipment of alcohol to anyone as long as they order from a producer. And it's been active since December 15th, but there's obviously, with a bill that complex, several things to work out. And I'm going to pass it over to my guest here to introduce himself and tell you some of the highlights.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Chairman Schickel, and the members of the committee. My name is Brian Alvey. I'm the Senior Director of Governmental Affairs for Kentucky Distillers Association. And I'll get right to it. You've heard us say many times, and you've heard me testify last year during House Bill 415 testimony, that House Bill 415, last year's version, would spur other states to look at reciprocity for Kentucky. This is happening. When I testified in front of Chairman Koenig's committee, there was about a dozen states that are looking at introducing legislation for reciprocity. Kentucky is a model. That's up to 15 states now. We didn't really think it would be this quick that other states would react, but it has been. And like many pieces of good, significant legislation, there's always need for, or there sometimes is need for follow-up. This is that legislation. Real quickly, because I know brevity is our ally, Mr. Chairman.
It certainly is.
In addition to the cleanup items of this legislation, one of the very important tenets is the measure is the third-party fulfillment centers that not only will make it more efficient and allow our distilleries to use those and utilize those going out. But as we talked to many legislators when 415 was being considered last year, they have many constituents that want wine to come in. You know, we were only one of about 5 states that didn't allow that. Now that we do, this will facilitate that for those fulfillment centers. 2 other quick pieces that we wanted to highlight, and I know that Chairman Koenig is going to highlight other pieces, is media samples and tasting contest and for the media. This is something that's very important to our industry because it allows us to get those samples out to those folks that are bloggers or writers, taste testers and such like that, and we want to stay competitive. And lastly, or I shouldn't say lastly, but the last comment that I want to make is about the ability for the distilleries to collect and remit their own taxes. This is something that gives us parity. You all did that for the brewers, and we applauded that a couple of years back, but that gives us parity, and we appreciate that. You know, on behalf of the 50 distilleries that are in support, at least 50 distilleries that are in support of this, and we employ over 20,000 folks. And right now, that's very important. And this piece of legislation is going to help us continue to address consumer demand as it relates to direct-to-consumer shipping, and we really appreciate Chairman Koenig bringing the legislation. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
If I may make a couple more comments.
You may, Mr. Chairman. Welcome to this committee.
Thank you. On the remittance of taxes, it's important in that we have the opportunity to put more money into the state coffers without raising taxes. The wholesalers are eligible to take 1% of that, which they will continue to do on things they actually move, but for things they don't touch, the distillers will remit those taxes, so that'll generate more money. To help with enforcement, we're requiring out-of-state manufacturers to provide a current copy of their state license so ABC knows it's current and in good standing with its own state. Gives full faith and credit to another state's recognition of a winery or distillery. Use the Kentucky Secretary of State as its registered agent for service of process, and requires registration with the Department of Revenue for tax collection purposes. And we also eliminate a old statute that presumes that if you have more than 3 gallons of alcohol in your home, you must be selling it. I don't want anybody on this committee to get in trouble and have to get a retailer's license to have a bourbon collection. So, let me just say that I want to also thank staff to your left, Senator, who spent a lot of time helping us work through this bill and did an excellent job.
She is definitely wonderful, and thank you for recognizing her and the rest of the wonderful staff we have at L&O. They are world class, and thank you for that. We do have a couple questions or comments, but before we get to those, I'm especially happy, and I know there's other members of this committee are especially happy, as well as members of the public, to hear that the wine, and I don't know about all the technicalities of it, but the bottom line is we hear a lot from constituents who want to ship in wine when they go on vacation and have not been able to do that. So it does my heart good to hear the Distillers Association looking out for the wine folks. We're all in this together. And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for taking care of that, because that has been a glitch that ever since I've been chairman of this committee. So hopefully, finally, we got that worked out and we can report back to our constituents. I know Senator Max Wise will be elated to hear that. The floor now will recognize Senator Higdon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Chairman Koenig and Chairman Schickel both. Thank you all for working on this bill. It's I know you did a lot of work on this to all the interested parties, and typically on a bill like this we get a lot of emails, and this one's been very quiet, and all the emails are in support of it. So I appreciate the work you've done on this bill. I appreciate that. One question I did have on fulfillment centers.
Yes.
I noticed, you chose not to license them. Could you just touch base with me what the thinking was on that, please?
It seemed like an extra level of bureaucracy and unnecessary expenses to the folks who want to purchase these products. The individual or the producer using the fulfillment center is responsible for any problems, and would probably actually be eligible if they're using someone who's misbehaving to lose their license to be able to ship. It is the common practice in a lot of these California and probably even Washington wineries to use fulfillment centers, because these producers just want to make wine. They don't want to be in the logistics business. So I've heard very little feedback as to it causing any issues with.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
Senator McDaniel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Directly to your point earlier, Chairman Koenig, So right now in Kentucky, can you have wine shipped to you from a vineyard?
Yes,
So everything's in place.
everything's in place.
All right, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Move approval.
Senator, Chair recognizes Senator Thayer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman, Mr. Alvey, thank you. It's like deja vu all over again, right?
Yes.
You even branded it as House Bill 415. Nicely done.
Thank you.
I regret that we have to do this. I wish ABC would have been a little bit more cooperative in following the intent of the legislature in promulgating regulations to get this off the mark. But I appreciate your hard work in bringing it forward today. The third-party fulfillment center piece is critical for all those folks who want to have their wine shipped here from California, and they are legion indeed. I also want to thank you for adding the malt beverage rectifier language. I'm told it could mean 40 jobs right off the bat at the Glenmore Distillery in Owensboro. And right now, anything we can do to add jobs in our signature industries in particular is something I'm always going to be for. The popularity of malt beverages is going through the roof. Doesn't do much for me, but those people who are in the business want to make sure that they can diversify and expand their portfolio. So I want to thank you for including that. I know how hard you've worked, and I know how many people, present company included, have been bugging you about this bill for months and months. So if it's appropriate for a motion.
It is. We have a motion from Senator Thayer and a second from Senator Nemes. Let the record reflect. Any further discussion or questions about House Bill 415? Is there anyone here that wishes to speak against this bill? Here or online? Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Senator Adams, Senator Buford, Senator Higdon, Senator Hornback, Senator Howe, Senator McDaniel,
Aye.
Senator Neal, Senator Nemes,
Aye.
Senator Thayer,
Aye.
Senator Thomas,
Vote and explain.
Well, Mr. Chair, I've been consistent in not voting on this measure because I have a personal and private interest
I understand.
in this bill. So pursuant to Section 57, I want the record reflect that I want to be shown as not voting in this measure.
Let the record reflect. Thank you, Senator.
Chairman,
I'll vote aye.
2, 3, 4, 7.
We have 8 ayes, 1 not voting. House Bill 415 is passed with favorable expression that same should pass. Congratulations. I'll accept the motion for consent. Second? Oh, thank you, Mr. Leader. It will not be on consent. Thank you for that. Stay right where you're at there.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, because we had a pass vote. I'm sorry, I thought you explained it well, but we, for those of you viewing, we had a pass vote, so it's not eligible for consent. Go ahead, Chairman, with the next bill, which is House Bill 220.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 220 is really a simple bill. Funeral directors and embalmers are having budgetary issues, and they would like to change their ability to charge fees from statute to regulation, which is
Thank
something
you.
we've been doing for
Entertain
years.
a motion.
Motion.
We have a motion and a second. And what this does is takes the fees out of statute and lets them put them in regulation, right?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions for or against this? Anyone wish to be recognized with regard to House Bill 220 online or remotely? Anyone wish to speak against this bill in the audience? Very well. Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Senator Adams, Senator Buford, Senator Higdon, Senator Hornback, Senator Howe, Senator McDaniel.
Aye.
Senator Neal. Senator Nemus.
Aye.
Senator Thayer.
Aye.
Senator Thomas. Chairman Schickel.
Aye. We have 9 yeas, no nays. House Bill 220, or House Bill, 220 is passed with favorable expression that same should pass. I have a motion for consent by Senator Thayer. Who made the second? Second by Vice Chairman Howe. All those in favor use the voting sign of yay. Or aye. Thank you. All those opposed say no. Very well. It will be placed on consent. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
You're very welcome. The last thing on the agenda is House Bill 38. Vice Chair Howe will be presenting that. It's an act relating to the Psychological Interjurisdictional Compact by Senator Walker Thomas. I'm sorry, Senator Howe will be explaining the sub. Welcome, Representative Walker Thomas. Introduce yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We appreciate you taking the time to hear this important piece of legislation. I will defer real quickly to Senator Howell just to call up the committee sub.
Thank you very much for doing that. Vice Chair Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This committee sub leaves most of it intact, and it just makes some adjustments to the bill, similar to what we did with the Audiology Compact, to keep control for things that we want to keep control with here.
And I want to thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, for your attention to this. As you know, as all compacts which come through this committee, it's very important that we do maintain our state jurisdiction as much as possible on it. This is something Senator Givens started years ago, and I've tried to be attentive to it, and I appreciate you being attentive to it. Do you have a motion on the sub, Vice Chair Howe? We have a motion. Is there a second? Motion seconded by Senator Adams. All those in favor of adopting the sub use the voting sign of aye. Aye. Anyone opposed say no. The sub is adopted. Representative Thompson, proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not going to, you all are very well of compacts. This is well needed, especially with COVID this last year. This just broadens the spectrum for psychologists to be able to practice in multi-jurisdictions as long as they're part of this compact. So I'm going to defer because I have some resident experts up on Cyber World up there, including the guru of compacts, Rick Masters. Dr. Sheila Schutzer is out there. Dr. Eric Russ is out there.
Wow.
Oh, I see Janet Orwig out there, who is the executive director of the Psychology
Well,
Pact.
Sheila Schuster's my favorite, so we're going to let her go first.
Well, would you mind me deferring to
not a bit.
my
I'm
partner
sorry,
here,
I
and then
didn't mean
we'll
to do that.
deflect to Sheila Schutzer
Yes, okay.
next. So.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman Schickel, and thank you, committee members. It's good to be with you this morning. I'm Lisa Wilner, representative from the 35th House District in Jefferson County. And I'm also a licensed psychologist and the former executive director of the Kentucky Psychological Association, which makes Sheila Schuster my favorite as well. And I want to thank Representative Thomas for this good bipartisan bill, for working in a bipartisan way, and for bringing psychologists to the table, in my case this morning, literally. My colleague and our friend, Dr. Sheila Schuster and Dr. Eric Russ from the Kentucky Psychological Association. This committee has previously passed interstate compacts for nursing, medicine, and physical therapy. And members previously heard this bill during the 2019 interim. It was in the queue for action and fell victim to our shortened schedule last year. This committee certainly understands the value of compacts in workforce development and in meeting unmet needs for services. This bill allows for continuity of psychological care via telehealth and meets the needs of psychologists in the military as well as the patients they serve, including active and retired military and military families. And in the interest of time, I can turn things over to
That would be wonderful.
the next
But-
speaker. And
yeah.
Dr. Schuster asked me to defer to Dr. Eric Russ, so
Okay.
if that suits
That would be
you.
fine. And Doctor, I want to apologize to you for cutting you off. I apologize for that. Dr. Rush, welcome.
Thank you. Again, I'm Dr. Eric Russ, Executive Director of the Kentucky Psychological Association. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist and fellow member of the Sheila Schuster fan club. So thanks, Chairman Schickel and Vice Chair Howell. I'll try to be quick, but I appreciate the opportunity to talk about I want to thank Representative Thomas and Representative Wilner for their efforts on this as
Okay,
well.
I think the votes are there. So just if you could very briefly describe what we're doing, we'd appreciate it.
Fair enough. So SciPact is an interstate compact. Again, sounds like you all are familiar with those. Provides for the ethical and legal practice of telepsychology, reduces regulatory barriers, and will increase access to psychology for folks in Kentucky.
Boy, now that was good.
That was good.
Okay. Anyone else on remotely that has anything to say? Dr. Schuster?
I just want to say, Chairman Schickel, that Eric Russ has learned well from you about being quick.
Thank
to
you.
the
Thank
point.
you. Anyone else?
Thank you. It's so great to see you all.
Senator McDaniel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 30, paragraph 1, we talk about the executive, legislative, judicial branch of state government take all actions to protect the compact. But then the second sentence says, the provisions of this compact and the rules promulgated here under shall have standing as statutory law. It's my understanding, I might be completely off in this, but I thought that regulations were administrative law and that only the laws we passed were actual statute. So are we raising the administrative regs to give them the force of law in this? I don't know the answer.
Yeah,
It's not-
and I to be honest, when you pull out sentences and things out of the whole compact, I understand the whole concept of it. But you're right. So I am going to defer to that almighty guru up there, Rick Masters, and see if he might answer that.
Yes, Senator Schickel. Let me offer an explanation. Like most of the compacts that have been adopted by the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
I'm sorry. Introduce yourself for the record, please.
Yes, sir. This is Rick Masters. I'm special counsel for interstate compacts with respect to the National Center for Interstate Compacts of the Council of State Governments, and have testified many times before this committee with regard to interstate compacts. And I am simply clarifying that this provision is very similar to what has been included in both the medical licensure compact, the nurse licensure compact, and the PT compact. And it's simply the administrative law principle, as the senator has already observed, that rules can be made and they are subject to the statutory guardrails that are included in the compact so that they can't go beyond the scope of what is included in this compact. So administrative regulations generally are held to have the weight of state law as long as they are consistent and within the authority granted under the compact statute. And the only authority granted under this one is to oversee and help administer the interstate relationships that are created under this compact to make sure that these licenses are being properly vetted and that they are being issued based on the qualifications that have been vetted by each state, including Kentucky, to make sure that that qualified persons are participating in interstate practice.
Thank you, Counselor. Senator McDaniel, do you have a follow-up? Chair recognizes Senator Buford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. Rick Masters, you may be the best source on this. I've done interstate compacts before and held them and carried them and sponsored them. And we had always been told that if we made any change in language, we would nullify our interstate compact with other states. So today we have adopted a committee substitute that changes the language from the House. And I just want to be sure we're on sound ground to have done this so that we don't mess this up.
Believe me, we ran it through him.
Through him?
Yes.
So you're okay. We're still part of the compact, even though we've changed your language.
Yes, Senator Buford, and good to see you.
Yes, sir.
I have vetted all of this, and in fact, I met with Senator Givens several years ago as we went through some of these changes. In fact, most of the differences are with regard to monitoring rulemaking by the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and I'm okay with that language. And I think that Senator Givens has assisted in making sure that there is monitoring going on, but it's not at odds with the way the other states are engaging in this rulemaking process.
Thank you.
We have a wise sage on this committee. His name is Senator Buford.
There you go.
Chair recognizes Senator Thomas.
I really didn't have a question, Mr. Chair, but I think Senator McDaniel's question is well taken in this respect, and that's why the language is confusing. Administrative regulations are law. He is correct about that, but they're not statutory law. Administrative regs have to be consistent with the statutory law. So I think the way it's worded is a bit confusing. It might be better to say that the two combined have standing as law. I think that's probably a better phrase. So I understand his.
I appreciate you that input,
question.
and I agree with you. It is confusing.
Well, Mr. Chair, we have no objection if the committee wants to add a clarification that certainly we're simply stating here that regulations as duly promulgated under the statute have the force of law. I would have no.
Okay. Thank you. A motion would be in order at this time. Thank you. We have a motion by Senator Adams. Do we have a second? We have a second by Senator Hornbeck. Let the record reflect. Any further discussion, questions? Anyone here wish to speak against this? Is there anybody online that didn't get to introduce themselves? Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Senator Adams, Senator Buford, Senator Higdon, Senator Hornback, Senator Howell, Senator McDaniel,
Aye.
Senator Neal, Senator Nemus,
Aye.
Senator Thayer, Senator Thomas, Chairman Schickel.
Aye. House Bill 38, as amended by proposed committee substitute number 2, is passed with favorable expression that same should pass with 10 yea votes and no nay votes. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
That would be in order. Yes, who wants to do it? Thank you, Vice Chair Howe. Is there a second? Second, Thayer, Thomas. Okay, let the record reflect. All those in favor of consent use voting sign of aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, like sign. It is also placed on consent. Very well. There being no further business, does anyone have anything they want to bring up before we adjourn? This may be our last, well, I think it is our last official meeting. I should say regularly scheduled meeting. Well, then, without objection, we stand adjourned.